All right, everybody, welcome into the Auburn Live Basketball Show. Appreciate everybody for coming back and joining us. JHead, what's up, man? How are you?
Living the dream, Justin. How about you, buddy?
I'm good, man. It's been a little bit of a crazy day. I guess I don't have to call you JHead anymore.
No, you don't. You
The
can go by
secret's
my
out.
name now. The
The
secret
secret's out.
is out. You can go by Alan now, or you can go back to JHead. Look, on the other show, we got to go in and out because Cole's calling me JHead and Jeffrey's calling me Alan, and so we got a combination of the two, buddy. So whatever
Yeah,
you come up on.
yeah. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Also, I saw people on the board hating on ALAN. That's how my dad spells it. So those people can go kick rocks.
There
That's
you
what I
go.
say.
There you go. That's how winners spell Alan. That's right.
Yeah. What's funny is I have another Allen in my family, and it's ALLAN. It's two L's.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have literally my dad, and then my uncle is ALLAN. But yeah, my dad is ALAN. So
He's in good company, man.
yeah. All right, let's get into this real quick. Shout out to the sponsor, a couple of sponsors of the show, Session Cocktail, right there in downtown Auburn, right there on Magnolia Avenue. Go check them out, Session Cocktail. I think they have a new spring menu coming out like today, which today we're recording on Monday, March 4th. So I think they got a new menu for the spring. So go check that out if you're in town, or if you're coming in town for the basketball games or baseball games, man. Go check them out. And tell them we sent you. And then as well as gametime.co, go check out gametime.co. They're a big time sponsor of On3 and Auburn Live. Go check out, get some last minute tickets for sporting events or comedy shows, whatever it might have you. Promo code War Eagle gets you 20% off your first purchase. They'll also match if you find tickets cheap. If you buy from Game Time and then go find them somewhere else that's cheaper, they'll match the difference. And so it's a pretty good deal there. So go check out gametime.co. But yeah, I need to get the session. It's been a minute. Actually, I was down there. Actually, it hadn't been a minute. I was there last week. They did a cocktail competition, and
Nice.
cat head competition, and I got to judge it. I said, "You want to come judge?" I said, "Yeah." What kind of question is that? Yeah. So that was a good time. So go to session, man. I got to get over there real quick. I got to get over there soon. All right, dude. Let's talk some hoops. Auburn went to Tennessee and lost a close one, 92-84. They come home and play Mississippi State, win by 15. Obviously, Jalen Williams played in the Tennessee game and then looked, completely back to normal in the Mississippi State game. Leor Berman gets hurt in the Mississippi State game and is out for the year. Brutal deal there for Leor. Look, Auburn offensively looked really good in both games. Some lulls against Mississippi State, but they played. Outside of Auburn, you played two of the better defenses in the league back to back, and you looked pretty good offensively. Defense let you down in Knoxville, no doubt. That team can score and has weapons, but giving up 92, I don't care who it is not Auburn basketball. They've shown they can play defense all season, so giving up 92 was something that Bruce was really unhappy about. He really thought they let that one slip away. They came back, bounced back really nicely against Mississippi State, looked fantastic in the first half, give State credit in the second half for closing things up and making it competitive. But give Auburn credit for stopping that momentum in the second half and sort of turning it back around and turning a 7-point. Mississippi State got within 7. Auburn ends up winning by 15. So give the Tigers credit for sort of turning it around and going back the other direction in that one. 2 games left at Missouri and Georgia. 2 games Auburn should win, although I think at Missouri could be tricky. Missouri has played pretty well. It could be a close game. We'll see. It's a game you should win. I'm just saying it could be closer than you think. And then Georgia at home. Auburn's 13th in the newest AP poll. At this point, who cares about AP polls? You're really just looking at computer rankings. Auburn's consistently right there, 6th across the board, basically. I think they're 5th in one and 6th in everything else that matters. Offensive and defensive efficiency still top 15. They're one of 3 teams in the country that can say that. I think Joe Lunardi's latest bracket had him a 5 seed, which I guess is just playing into the quad 1 thing. That's kind of the one knock on Auburn is the quad 1 record. It's unfortunate because 5 of Auburn's 8 quad 1 games have been on the road. Just kind of how it worked out. Like if a few of those are at home, Auburn wins those. So it's a it's something you look at, but it shouldn't be the end all be all. But that's kind of what's sort of hitting Auburn and putting them at a 5 seed versus a 4 seed. But we'll see. There's another week, win a couple games, see how things play out. 4 or 5 is not a massive difference. Although 12 seed and 13 seed tournament wise, it's I think the 12 seeds won like 35% of the time, and the 13 over the 4 is won like 20% of the time. So it is a difference. But you're playing a 4 or 5 in the second round either way. So that's kind of a quick overview of where we're at. What were your thoughts last week? Good, bad? Tennessee, Mississippi State. What did you see? What did you like? What did you not like?
Sure. I mean, let's start with Tennessee. And you have to acknowledge that was one of the most special individual performances that probably either you or I have ever watched from Dalton Connect. I mean, he was just absolutely in the zone, and it was a phenomenal performance by him. Auburn, for all intents and purposes, was in that game, had an opportunity to win that game, and came up a little bit short. And I know that's one that Bruce wanted. Look, it's no secret that the Tennessee game means a lot to him. It's no secret that it means a lot to that team to play well for Bruce in that situation or in those matchups. And it's going to be really good for them to have that level of exposure and that kind of an environment moving into the tournament. I see that as an absolute bonus for playing in that kind of an atmosphere and being able to shoot it well. The offense, which has been the issue for Auburn on the road against quality opponents, was not an issue against Tennessee. And like you talked about or alluded to, Tennessee is probably a top 3 defensive club in the SEC this year. Maybe you're going to say top 4. I mean, they're
defensively.
Yeah,
they're. I think according to T Rank, they're 2 and Auburn's 1. And I think certainly in conference play, I think they're the second best defense and Auburn's the first best defense. I think.
Exactly. So you played the number 1 defense in your league, a potential 2 or 1 seed, contingent on how Tennessee finishes out the rest of their season, because they've got an opportunity to be a 1.
Yeah.
And you played them, as close as you possibly can in their house. So you never want to walk away from a loss feeling like you left anything out there on the floor. I don't think they did. And I think they'll learn and they'll grow from this one. And then you carry it forward to Mississippi State, a physical club. I mean, this is the kind of team that if you're the Detroit Pistons back in the late 80s, early 90s, that's a Mississippi State blueprint for what you want to be. They want to kind of make it physical. They want to ugly it up. They want to get paint touches inside. They've got a really nice freshman point guard that has matured as the season's gone on, and I think the world of him as a player. But they're not the most offensively talented team that Auburn's going to play. Defense is their strong suit. And for you to be able to kind of work through a situation that flustered you earlier in the season, because Mississippi State's physicality absolutely got into your head when you played in Starkville. So fast forward a couple weeks later, now you've overcome that obstacle. That's another check mark in the box of you beating an NCAA tournament team, because I think Mississippi State is still recognized as a 9 seed, I think, in Joey Bucket's last bracket.
Sounds about right.
It may be an 8 seed. I'm not exactly sure. And they've got an opportunity to finish strong. So good quality win. And now you carry it forward on the road in Missouri. And you're right. That is the definition of a trap game. If you're Auburn and you're looking at this schedule, Missouri has not won a conference game yet. This is senior day for them. There's a lot that they're going to want to get out on senior day. They are going to want to get a win. There's no way these guys are going to come in there not motivated to play well. Now, this is what I will say, and they have played tough all season, but if you get up on a team like them early who hasn't had a lot of success this season, you're probably going to see them fade pretty quickly. But you need to punch them in the mouth from the very beginning, and you need to get on top of them. You need to stay on top of them. So this can't be a situation where you go in there and you play a little bit lackluster and you give them some kind of hope. If you do that, you're setting yourself up for a very long night. Now, I don't believe that Missouri has the firepower to beat Auburn, but stranger things have happened than to go into Columbia and to lose a game that you shouldn't. So this is one that I'm sure Bruce will hopefully have their full attention for, because ending the season 13-5, getting a potentially a top 4 or higher seed in the SEC tournament, and being a 16 national seed or better, that is the bubble that Bruce wants to live in. Okay, they want to be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. They want to be a top 4 seed in the SEC tournament. They want to finish as many SEC wins as they possibly can. And they're already in the 20s as it pertains to their overall, win total. But you have a lot to play for. Cannot lose focus going against Missouri in Missouri. And you got to come home against a motivated Georgia team they're a rival.
Yeah.
They're going to want to play well. Auburn's a rival for them. There are a lot of Georgia kids on Auburn's team. There are Georgia kids on their team that, even potentially wanted to play for Auburn. This is personal for them. So it'll be an interesting week. While you're playing lesser opponents, you're playing opponents that are motivated for a win. These aren't guys that are coming in just happy to be there. They're looking to knock off Auburn and kind of make their season. So it's a week that you got to be focused. You got to take pride in what you did last week, with the exception of the fact that you lost when you could have had against Tennessee. It would have been a great win.
Oh,
there's no shame in losing it. It would have been a great tournament resume builder. And it would have absolutely kept you, in championship contention if you get it. But you can't lose focus now. And I loved how they rebounded against Mississippi State, and they showed, okay, we're not going to be dissuaded by the fact that we lost the opportunity probably to win the conference championship. We're still playing for things. And that's what you love to see from this ball club. And I love the fact that they were able to keep the main thing, focus on the opponent in front of them, and hopefully they'll be able to do it this week.
Yeah, a couple of things to watch for, by the way, to toss this in. Watch for Indiana. Auburn needs to root for Indiana to win games. They need to root for Ole Miss to win games. They need to root for Mississippi State to win games. Reason being, Indiana is sitting at 101 in the net. If they're top 100, they move into a quad 2 win for Auburn, where they're a quad 3 now. Ole Miss is sitting at 78 in the net. If they move to 75 or better in the net, they move from a quad 2 to a quad 1 win for Auburn. The road game at Ole Miss would become a quad 1 win. Mississippi State is sitting at 31 in the net. If they move 30 or better, that home game against Mississippi State the other day becomes a quad 1 win instead of a quad 2. So there are 3 teams that if they can win another game, win a couple games, and bump up a couple of spots in the net, Auburn could potentially gain 2 quad 1 wins and another quad 2 win. Now, that shouldn't be the end-all, be-all, but it is an important thing. We've seen, I think it matters to Lenardi. You saw Seth Davis tweet about it, and it matters. So if Auburn's sitting there 1-7, if they can point and say they're 3-7 in quad 1, that helps a little bit, especially when you look at, and then you can point out, if you're Auburn, you can try to point out, hey, a bunch of those have been on the road and a bunch have been close. Maybe you go to Nashville and win one, and that's a quad 1 type, pretty much. I mean, if they play on Friday, whoever they play is basically, unless there's an upset, it would be a quad 1. So maybe you pick up one there, and then all of a sudden 4-7 against quad 1 doesn't look bad at all. I mean, you're talking about, it looks very different. So that's something to keep in mind if you're Auburn. I said in the my brief thoughts, and I can expound on it. I think I'll say this and then watch them go beat Missouri by 3, but I think this team is playing as well as any team Bruce has had at this point in the season. I think they're as balanced as any team he's had. I think they're as equipped to make a run in March as any team he's had. I mean, I really do. I think the Jabari and Walker team was built well, but that team started to show flaws at the very end of the year in how you attacked their point guards. And it was almost maybe too much reliance on Jabari and Walker. This team has more balance than that team offensively. I think the Final Four team, when they got going, had some pretty good balance. It could be Bryce. It could be Jared. It could be Samir could pop some. Malik could hit a few. Chuma was going to get his. That team had balance. This team still might be more balanced than that one in terms of whether it's Janai or Jalen or Denver or Aiden or Trey or Chad Baker or KD. This team still might have a couple of more weapons, like a couple more guys that could go for 10 than even that team. And they've come a long way playing defense. I really like where this team is at offensively, defensively. I think they're in a great spot. I also might be the only person that wouldn't mind if Auburn ends up playing on Thursday in Nashville. Here's what's important. Beat Missouri and Georgia. Win those 2 games. Make sure you don't falter, okay? And you'll be right there, 4-5 seed. You'll be right there. I don't – I know you get an extra day of rest, and most tournament teams in Nashville have won playing on Friday. I'd have to go back and look, but most of the tournament champions generally it's the team that comes from playing on Friday. Rarely does it happen 4 games in 4 days. Auburn did it, the Final Four team. So, like, if you want to win in Nashville, having the extra day can help you. But, man, you go back and look at some Auburn teams, the 17-18 team that won the regular season, got blitzed by Alabama on a Friday. The Jabari Walker team that won the regular season got blitzed by A&M on a Friday. And so it's not always the best case scenario. And I wouldn't mind if this Auburn team, if you beat Missouri and Georgia, you did what you can do. I wouldn't mind if for some reason it turned out that wasn't good enough and it still put them as a 5 seed in the tournament. If they played on Thursday and got a chance to play a game and put another win on the board against, I don't have to go look back and see maybe who it would be against, but if they got a chance to put a W on the board on a Thursday, I think, one, it adds to your win total. It gives you a little bit maybe more momentum. Maybe the tournament committee looks at you and go, okay, they've won 4 in a row. But I like winning a game on Thursday and going into Friday. I think playing on Thursday hurts you more on Sunday. I don't think it hurts you on Friday. I think it's an advantage for the team that wins on Thursday to play Friday, and the team Friday hadn't played in a week. I think that's an advantage on Friday. It could hurt you on Sunday. You could be tired. Like, I think Tennessee was a little fatigued when Auburn blitzed them by 20 in the championship. I think Tennessee was a little – they played Kentucky. Well, they didn't play 4, but they played a tough game against Kentucky. But you see my point. But I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority and everybody wants the double bye. I really don't care if Auburn gets the double bye. Win the 2 games in front of you is all you can do. And maybe get a chance to play on Thursday and get another win in the column and maybe – gets you fresh and ready to go for Friday. It might even give you a better chance to win your Friday game. Is that, am I crazy? I haven't seen a lot of people talking about that, but it wouldn't bother me at all if that's how it worked out.
No, I think it gives you momentum. And that's what you're talking about, Justin. It gives you the opportunity to kind of work out the kinks against a team that may not necessarily be of the same caliber of somebody you're going to play in that top 4 bracket. So getting consistency in a place that you don't play all the time, which is Nashville. I mean, there's different rims. The lighting's a little bit different. So there's a lot that goes into that with as far as getting comfortable, right? Getting comfortable, getting a win, which is probably going to be a quad 1, quad 2 at the worst type win to add to your tournament resume. And then you move into the competition against, if you're the 5 seed, you're going to be playing the 1 seed, I think.
If you're what? If you're the
5.
Yeah, you might be right. I was literally about to pull it up. Or try to pull up. And it might take me a second to find it, actually.
We'll keep going.
You keep going. It'll take me a second to try to.
No, you're good. But again, you get the opportunity to get some rhythm, and that's what's important for this team. You get the opportunity to shoot in an environment that you're not always in. So I don't think you're crazy for thinking that. For me, I do like that this team is going to be getting some extra rest, but it's not the end all be all. Like, if you're a top 4 to me, great. If you're not a top 4 to me, you still got to go to the SEC tournament and do some work. I would love to see you get a win or 2 in the SEC tournament to kind of add and pad to your resume and to have some good momentum moving into the tournament. I think the one thing that both you, I, and everybody else that's been paying attention to Auburn basketball is are we going to get consistency from the point guard position? Last Saturday, Aiden Holloway was phenomenal against Georgia, right?
Yeah.
Or 2 Saturdays ago, excuse me. And then against Tennessee, he had a pretty decent game. And then moving into Saturday's matchup against Mississippi State, he didn't, have a terrible game, but no points, 1 assist, 1 turnover. So he made good decisions with the basketball, in my opinion, but from a plus standpoint from scoring, you'd love to get 7, 8, 9, 10 points from that position. It would just add to your arsenal if you could get that kind of production. Now, on the flip side, we also talked about Denver Jones being somebody that would need to elevate his game for Auburn to kind of be as successful as they possibly can in the tournament. I think you're seeing that down the stretch here. And for those that were trying to compare Denver to Zep, I love Zep Jasper. I do. But in no way, shape, form, or fashion is Denver Jones in any way need to be compared to Zep.
Who's doing
you've seen some of these posts on the board, man. I'm not going to bring up their name, but needless to say, Denver is a significantly more talented offensive player. You're seeing him come into his own right now. He's shooting at a really high clip from three, making good decisions and getting into the lane and taking it to the cup. Really love what you're seeing from him. And then I guess the one other negative you can talk about is Chad Baker-Mazara kind of losing his head a little bit in that game. That has to be acknowledged. He's going to have to get that under control if you're going to play high-level basketball in March. And I know Bruce will punch the right buttons with him, but you cannot afford to lose your cool, regardless of how a team plays you. If they're being physical, you just have to mentally push through it. You can't afford to get teed up in a time when you don't need to give up points. So that's something that Chad needs to work on. He's far too talented of a player. He's too smart of a player to play into that. So watching him mature and grow from that, that's another thing that we need to be focused on moving forward.
Yeah. We talked to Bruce on Monday, and he was asked about Chad. Talked about Chad a little bit and said he wants Chad to turn the corner. And he knows Chad's a great player. He looks at Chad as a great player, but he wants Chad to turn the corner and be a pro. And that means don't get stupid technicals. That means, be your fun self, but know when to rein it in a little bit. And that was a really frustrating technical that he got, because a couple minutes before that, when he got called for the foul on the inbounds, or he wasn't happy about that. There was a foul call like a minute or two earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't happy about that call, and he didn't think he did anything. And I'm watching Stephen Pearl is looking right at him, pointing to his head, going, calm down, chill out. Like, Chad was really not happy about the call. Tell him to calm down, be smart, chill out. Well, then they inbounded the ball, and I don't know if you can see on TV, Chad then played defense all the way down the court with his hands behind his back.
Yep.
Which is childish. Because he was basically saying, I'll just do this and you won't call me for foul. Well, guess what? I think they hit a 3 on him. Like, anyway, that was a childish thing to do for him. Then he gets the technical. So it wasn't like his emotions got the best of him, and he was warned 2 minutes earlier by Stephen Pearl, get your head in the game, chill out, whatever. And he did it anyway. So it's just, he's got a little bit of that. I mean, but Bruce said, I'd rather have a guy that's too passionate than not enough, which I would agree with, right? I think we would agree with that. You got to rein it in a little bit. Chad is a leader and an emotional leader on the club. But moving forward, we don't need those kind of mistakes. You mentioned the bracket. So if Auburn was the 5, they would play the 4.
Okay.
So if they're the 4, they're going to play the 5.
Got it.
What happens is, if Auburn's the 5, their first round game is going to be against one of the bottom 4. It'll be against, I don't think Missouri. I think 13-12. So you're looking at Vandy, Arkansas, Georgia. That's if you slip to the 5, that's your first round game. Vanderbilt, Arkansas, or Georgia, and then you play the 4. If you're the 4, then you're waiting on likely the 5. And so, we'll sort of see how things play out. I just think all Auburn can do is win their next 2. We'll see how it goes. Winning, the only drawback to playing on Thursday would be you put yourself in a position to have another hiccup. That would be it. I mean, you go to Nashville, neutral court, and you put yourself in a position like, what if you play Georgia and you just beat Georgia at home by 15, and you got to play them again in Nashville? That's tricky. Like, what if you're the 5 seed and you go, we've already beaten these guys twice. All right, let's play them again, and you come out there flat. That's dangerous. Arkansas has been playing better. And look, last year, Auburn's a 7 seed. You got 10 seed Arkansas. Arkansas's 5-11. They beat you. Like, Arkansas's got the talent. You come there on a neutral court. Do you want to see Arkansas on a Thursday? I don't. I'd rather not. That's a loss. That's a bad loss. Vanderbilt would be. Vanderbilt's a team that Auburn could most likely handle.
Sure.
But anyway, that's the only drawback, is you put yourself potentially in a situation to have a hiccup that they cannot. That would be bad. It'd be a bad way to go into March if you had a hiccup. So that would be a fair point if you're just worried about staying out of the danger zone in that. You know what I mean? So I get that.
Rotation. Obviously, you mentioned Lior's injury.
Yeah.
And I hate it for that kid. He was absolutely playing his best basketball. Like, I felt like the last 2 weeks, Lior Berman, when you put him in the game, was giving you offensive production that you had not seen from him. I mean, he's always had the potential to score. He's always had the potential to shoot. but he was really starting to put it together with his ability to get to the cup, what he was giving you on defense, and then that confidence was starting to show. And you really, I mean, let's be honest here, he had outplayed Chris Moore this last 2 weeks, and really, when you put him in the game, you didn't even think about the fact that Leor was a one-time walk-on. Like, you're looking at a guy that belongs in the SEC, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so you hate that injury for that young man, but what does it do to the rotation? Do they shrink it like I talked about? And I don't think that they're going to, but do they shrink it and start to use Denver at the 2 and the 3? Or do they roll with Chris Moore as your backup 3? I'm going to be interested to see how Bruce plays that. I think he's going to give Chris the benefit of the doubt. He's a guy that's been in the program for a long time. I know that Bruce has a lot of respect for him, and we'll see what we get. But it's not going to be, to me, if Bruce does experiment with it, I think he's got a rational reason to do it. I mean, I think it's understandable to experiment and go in with a 9-man rotation as opposed to 10.
Yeah, I think obviously Chris Moore's back in the lineup. Bruce made an interesting point. He said, I think that Chris could be a little motivated knowing that he went from starter to barely getting any minutes because he just was not any kind of threat offensively. He had no confidence. He wasn't looking for a shot. He wasn't looking to drive. He just was providing nothing on offense. And they were already pretty good on defense. So it's like, okay, well, yes, Chris is a pretty good defender. He communicates well, but we're pretty good on defense in general. He's doing nothing. He's not even a threat. They probably saw things on film where defenders were not even looking at him. And so he went from starter to no minutes. Now he's going to get a second chance to get back in the rotation. And so Bruce kind of said, I wonder if he'll be a little motivated, like a little sense of urgency, a little sense of hunger. So that'll be something to watch for with Chris. Chris is not a bad basketball player. He just offensively, I don't know if he just sort of decided to relegate himself to just not being a guy that looks to shoot or score. But at least need to be a threat to do something. And so, he'll be good on defense. We'll see if he can, I don't know, go grab an offensive rebound, do something offensively. But yeah, his minutes still, I don't think will be anything crazy. I still think Chad Baker will get more minutes. Chris will get back in the rotation, but Leor was getting about 10 minutes the last 3 games. And will Chris get 10 minutes a game? Doubt it. I think, maybe close to it, but maybe close. He might get 9 minutes a game. But it's a bummer for Leor. He was about to enter and he already had the last couple of games. He had never played 10 minutes a game. I mean, it's what he was doing the last 3 games. 10 minutes a game, 5 points a game, and was literally about to go into March and never have he had never been a more important piece in the rotation than right that second. And then gets injured just kind of on a freak thing, as a lot of those ACL injuries are. But yeah, he's just an awesome kid. He's an awesome kid. We'll see how the team kind of rallies around him. I saw a couple of posts from Jalen Williams, saw a post from Katie Johnson talking about playing for Leor. And so we'll see kind of what they can do. So you got Missouri, Georgia. You got Missouri and Georgia left. Auburn should be 2-0. Missouri, I don't know. Like I said, Missouri's I'm a little worried, but not. Auburn should have more firepower, but Missouri's they've lost 10 of their conference games by single digits. They went to Florida and lost by 9. It's better than Auburn did.
Yep.
They lost by a couple to Kentucky. I think it was close. They had Tennessee beat for a while and lost that one. And they haven't quit. Look, Ole Miss was beating them like a drum early in the game, and I thought, Ole Miss was up 19 at halftime at Missouri, and Missouri came all the way back in the set. You're thinking, what? You're 0-15, you're down 19 at halftime. You easily could have quit. Missouri blitzes Ole Miss in the second half and dang near wins that game. So senior night, don't think you're walking in there and you're just going to roll by 20. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I agree with you. It's going to be a difficult game. It's more difficult than some people think. And then you look at the logistics going into it. You got to travel all the way to Columbia. It's an 8:00 tip, and it's on a Tuesday. So you're on one less day of rest than you typically played all year long.
Yep.
Those are three things that are going against you. So your legs are going to be a little tired in this game. Mentally, you have to be in it from jump, and you need to see the ball go in the hoop a couple times to have that confidence that we've shot it with the last 3 or 4 games. I mean, since Kentucky, Auburn has shot the basketball at probably its best clip since, man, I don't know when. I mean, they really have been
Mm-hmm.
they really have shot well. I mean, take the numbers from the Mississippi State game. I think I got them right here in front of me. Auburn was 19 of 37 from 2, 9 of 19 from 3 for 47%, and field goal percentage was 13 of 17 for 77%. That is a winning percentage for Auburn basketball. If you're shooting 47% from 3, Auburn's going to be in the large majority of games. I mean, if you're plus 40, think about last year when we shot consistently like low 30s in three-point percentage, sometimes even high 20s.
That's bad.
It is. And to go a year removed from that and see where you're at right now, this is what gives you confidence. And again, I know we're going to have to wrap here relatively soon, but point guard play, can we get an increased production in point guard play? What does the rotation look like without Lior? Can you get something from Chris? And then can we be on the road consistent against a team that's hungry, against a team where the logistics are working against you from an energy standpoint? So a lot to play for, man. I mean, 13-5 says a lot about you in the SEC, in my opinion. 13-5, top 5, top 4 in a deep, deep conference. It says a lot about Auburn. It says a lot about Bruce Pearl. I would love to end the season that way and put the cherry on top with a good performance in the SEC tournament.
We'll see what they do. 13-5 would be great. 13-5 would, I mean, think about this. They could finish. Hold on. Before I get to that, I want to say something on Missouri. Just on the shooting note, Missouri's last 10 opponents have shot 40% or better in effective field goal percentage. So Missouri is on a streak right now of giving up some good shooting percentages. That bodes well for Auburn. 10 straight opponents have shot 40% or better in effective field goal percentage. So Auburn should go in there and score 75 plus. And there's no reason they should give up that much. So I get it could be close, but anyway. 13-5. So 13-5, Auburn could finish 4th or 5th in the league at 13-5. 13-5 won the league for the Mustafa Heron team, the first championship for Bruce Pearl's team. That team went 13-5, won the league. The Samir team finished, I think, 12-6.
It did.
And finished second. This team would beat that team by a game and finish worse in the league. The Jabari team went, I think, 15-3 and won the league. So this team would be 2 SEC games off Jabari and Walker, and how fantastic that team was. And the Final Four team went 11-7. So you'd be 2 games better than that team. And I think that team finished 5th because they played on Thursday. So that team finished 5th in the league at 11-7. You could finish 5th in the league at 13-5. So it shows you, I think, the strength of this conference over the last 6-7 years. This is one of the better years. This team 13-5 in a lot of years. This is a easy top 3 team in the league. It's just sort of how it works out this year. So, which is why I think if they're 24-7, 13-5, you want to try to tell me that's not a top 16 team in the country with all the efficiency and the computer ratings. That's insane. I mean, you want to point to quad 1, whatever, but dig into those numbers. Look at how many of those are on the road. Look how close some of those games were. I mean, we're splitting hairs with going like, guys, they were beating Tennessee by 8. Like they're right there. They're right there. They're right there. I get winning and losing. I get it. But a bunch of them are on the road. I don't know. I just feel like you could dissect into that a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
It's not as bad as 1-7. Well, no, it's not. It's not. It's not that bad. This is a top 15 team in the country, and anybody who doesn't think so, like the UConn dude who won't even rank Auburn, like get out of here, man. How do we pull his card? Oh, it's just crazy. How do you not rank? How do you look at Auburn and go, they're top 15? They're one of 3 teams in the country that has a top 15 offensive and defensive efficiency. Every computer imaginable thinks they're a top 6 team in the country. 6. And you're like, no, I think they're like 28th or whatever he ranks them. Like, anyway, it's why AP polls are like, the better these analytics and computers get, by the way, the more the AP poll is strictly to put a number on TV or just to log historically, you can say we were ranked again or like whatever. But other
Sure.
than that, the AP polls are just becoming more and more irrelevant with all the other analytics and stuff we have that are pretty good in terms of ranking teams. Now you're just looking at polls going, okay, okay. Like, all right, they're 13th. Okay. Like that's not even a good determiner of how good teams are anymore. It's sort of irrelevant in a lot of ways. All right, let's roll. We'll get up next week. We'll talk about Missouri. We'll talk about Georgia, and we'll lead into Nashville. We'll lead into the SEC tournament and see where things stand with this Auburn club as they go try to win a game in Nashville. It's been a minute. They have 2 straight one and dones, and then the COVID year, and then the Sharif year, COVID year. It's been the Final Four team since they've won a first round game for a few different reasons. So see if they can go to Nashville and get one on the board and at least win one in there and then go into the NCAA tournament with a little bit of momentum. All right. That's it. Session Cocktail. Shout out to them again. Appreciate their sponsorship of the show. Go check them out right there on Magnolia Avenue in downtown Auburn. JHead, Alan Head. I'm going to say them both. We'll see everybody next week. Go subscribe to auburnlive.com, man. Join the community. Love to have you. See you next time.